Hello, Professor. My name is Ritu Borad and my net ID is cx4207. My topic for the presentation is 3 CNF SAT problem. So, let's start with the presentation. Let's first look at what is CNF. So, CNF is an abbreviation for conjunctive normal form and it is a formula with three parts. The first part is literals. So what are literals? Literals are nothing but occurrence of variables or their negation. For example, if we say x1, x2, negation of x1, negation of x2, all these are literals. Then let's see what is a clause. So clause is a combination of literals with a disjunction. So disjunction is a logical or operation between the literals. So example of a clause is if we say x1 with a disjunction with x2, or we say that negation of x1 and the or operation with x2. So these are the clauses. Now the third part is CNF, where there is a conjunction between two or more clauses. What is a conjunction? Conjunction is nothing but logical and operation. So example for a CNF would be x1 or x2 and not x1 with not x2. So this is one CNF where we have two clauses and there is a conjunction between the two clauses. Now let's see what is a 3CNF. So a 3CNF is a Boolean formula with and of clauses, and each of the clause is an or of exactly three distinct literals. What does this mean? That there is a formula where there are different clauses and there is a conjunction between them, but each clause should have exactly three distinct literals. So now let's see an example of a 3CNF. So how does a 3CNF look like? Let's say there are three variables x1, x2, three literals x1, x2 and x3. So this is the first clause and then conjunction, then this is the second clause. So here literals are x1, x2, x3, negation of x1, negation of x2, negation of x3. Then clauses are x1 with x2 with x3, disjunction between the literals, and negation of x1, negation of x2, negation of x3. And then there is a conjunction between the two clauses. So the whole formula is x1, x2, x3, and then there is a conjunction with another clause. So this is a 3CNF where there are three literals in each clause. Now whenever we assign values to these literals, it is called a truth assignment. Now what is 3CNF SAT problem? So a truth assignment is said to be, SAT is nothing but Boolean satisfiability for a problem, which says that whether the problem is satisfiable or not. So a truth assignment is said to be satisfying if it causes the whole formula to evaluate to true. That means that if we assign x1, x2 and x3 the values, their Boolean values, that is either true or false, then this whole formula is satisfiable if we evaluate the whole formula and the answer is true. So that is a 3CNF is satisfiable if it has a satisfying assignment. Now let's take an example for this problem. So if we have a CNF formula like this, that x1 negation of x1 negation of x2, then one clause is x3 x2 and x4. Now we have to see if, now this is a 3 CNF formula because we have three literals over here, x1 x2 and negation of x1 in one clause, and another clause is x3 x2 and x4. Now let's see if this is satisfiable or not. Now first we have to assign values to these literals. So let's assign values. So let's take x1 is equal to 1, x2 is equal to 1, x3 is equal to 0, and x4 is equal to 0. Now we have assigned the values. Now we want to evaluate these values. Now what we want, if we want the formula to be satisfiable, we want that phi should be 1. Now as there is a conjunction between the two clauses, both the clauses should finally evaluate to 1. So let's first check for the first clause. So first clause is x1 with negation of x1 with negation of x2. This is our first clause. Now as there is a disjunction here, if either of these values is 1, then the whole formula evaluates to 1. So at least 1 is required to evaluate this clause to 1. So now let's put the values here. So x1 is equal to 1. So 1 with negation of 1, that is 0, and negation of x2, that is 0. So this is our first clause. But as we have here a disjunction operator, 1 with 0 and 0 will always give us 1. Now let's see the another clause which we have here. So second clause is x3 x2 x4, x3 x2 x4. Now as again there is a disjunction here, so we need at least one, at least a 1 to evaluate the clause to 1. So now let's put the values. So we know that x3 is 0, x2 is 1, and x4 is 0. So the whole clause will evaluate to 1 as there is at least 1 here. Now if we put the values in the clause, so our formula was x1 with negation of x1 with negation of x2, and with x3 x2 x4. So now first clause is 1 and 1, which is 1. Now we can see that our formula is, after assigning values, our formula is, final formula is evaluated as 1, and hence we can say that this CNF is satisfiable. So our conclusion is that if we have a 3 CNF problem, and there exist truth assignment such that formula evaluates to true, then it is satisfiable. Thank you. This is my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm available on email. Thank you.